Good morning, YouTube peeps, or good afternoon, or good evening, or whenever it is that you're watching this. Making this video today as a little call out. I'm calling out media. I'm calling out the media here. Surprise, surprise, right? And this is just completely a fake media call out. That's what it is. We'll call it what it is, and we'll focus on it that way. So we'll just cut to the chase. I'm calling out an article that I ran across that was so fake, so ridiculous, so off the charts biased that it couldn't even be taken seriously. Unless you're a lockstep left liberal numbskull, this article is gonna just enrage you, or it should enrage you with how biased it is. Of course, if you're a liberal and you're far left and you associate with certain groups, you're probably going to think that this is just the greatest thing since sliced bread. Probably going to put it up there right next to George Orwell's 1984 or Ernest Hemingway. But here's what it is, man. I got this HuffPost article. I should know better. I was working. I got distracted by a news post that came up, or a news flash that came up, and I thought, you know what, I'll read it. It's interesting. I knew as soon as I saw it was from HuffPost, it was going to be liberal bias. I knew as soon as I saw it that it was going to probably tick me off, but like a moth to the flame, I couldn't help but read it and see how bad this thing was really going to be, just based on the title. So this article is basically, it was about the Proud Boys, about the GOP, and about fascism. That's what the whole basis of this article was. First off, let me start by saying I don't support Proud Boys. I don't know enough about them. I don't have enough research done on them. I don't know their background, their origins. I don't know any of that. I don't support the Proud Boys, just for the fact that I don't know who they are. But also, let me start by saying this too. I don't support Antifa at all, and I've done research on these fools. These guys are nuts. They're definitely and clearly a violent, homegrown terrorist, anti-conservative group that's hell-bent on disrupting anything conservative by any means necessary. And they have physically, verbally, outright, and explicitly stated in no uncertain terms that they will do anything possible to disrupt the conservative program, or the conservative agenda and the conservative support through means of violence, if necessary. They've made that clear. They have explicitly said that. So having said that, they are a terrorist group. So, what I know about Proud Boys, very little. I know that they don't cover their faces up. And let me say this. If you need to cover your face to accomplish a political agenda or your political goals, if you need to wear a mask to hide who you are in relation to your political stance, if you have to put a hood over your head to say how much you hate somebody, or you dislike with somebody, or you disagree with somebody, if you got to do any of that, then you're a cowardly, terroristic twerp who is flat out wrong. And you know you're wrong. You know you're wrong. Otherwise, you wouldn't be covering your face up. You wouldn't be hiding who you are to stand up for what you believe in. That's how you know you're wrong. And you know you're wrong. Having said that, that should bring up ideas of, surprise, surprise, Antifa, the KKK, these ISIS fighters that are over there, attacking people, even there and over here. Obvious of Cobra Commander, right? If you go back to the old G.I. Joe cartoons, Cobra Commander wore a mask. All those dudes wore a mask. They were the bad guys, right? Bottom line is, if you have to wear a mask, you're wrong, and you know you're wrong. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about their masks and their little cover-ups and whatever else. We're talking about this article. And this article, it's so liberally biased, it's sickening. It takes a single side throughout. It's so much so that I have to believe, or I kind of wonder, if the author of this article isn't an Antifa member himself. Maybe even one that was at this event and got his butt whooped. It's the only thing I can figure, is that now he's lashing out. Sitting at his mom's computer, keyboard, pounding out on the keys, an article, and sending it to the HuffPost like it's some kind of factual reporting or whatever, just because he got his butt kicked, hurt pride, and now he's going after him with words. That's the only thing I can figure. So Having said that, I'm going to post a link down below. If later on you want to read this piece of garbage, then feel free to pick it apart and you can make your own opinions on it. Draw your own conclusions. I can tell you my conclusion is that it's liberal. It's a liberally biased piece of trash. It's not truthful. It has twisted half truths. It's lies throughout, and it starts right off the bat. It starts right off the bat with the title. So what this video is about, what this video right here is about me calling out the media on their bias, calling out the media on their bull crap, calling out the media, and in particular, in this case, the HuffPost, on this particular article and why you would even publish this thing. I'm going to call you out and say, do your job. It's time for you, the media, to do your job. You want respect? You want America to believe you again? You want America to respect your profession? Do your job. That's it. That's all you're called to do. We don't need your liberal propaganda. We don't need your biased opinions. We don't need your grandstanding, your lies, your twisted half-truths. We don't need you telling us how to think about an issue. What we need you to do is report. That's it. Observe and report. A $9 an hour security guard has got that program down. And you guys don't have it. Now, bear in mind, let me give you a little background. I have a degree in English. I have a degree in political science. I have 2 bachelor's degrees. One in English, one in political science. I've done some journalism. I understand how it's supposed to be. And even going through a liberal university program and liberal university system, the rules remain the same. Report the facts. Keep your opinions to yourself unless it's an op-ed or an opinion piece. This is not an op-ed. This is supposed to be a reporting piece, and it came across as like a very liberal, lying op-ed. Give us the facts. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. That's all we need. We can think for ourselves. We can think and draw conclusions based on that. We don't need you to tell us what we should be thinking. This is a free country. You have the right to talk. You have the right to speak. You have the First Amendment right of freedom of speech. But what you don't have is you don't have a right to tell us what to think and then judge us for it. Okay? We don't need your opinions. We don't need your interpretations. We don't need your misguided evaluations and bad predictions. Hey, 2016 election, anybody? Or your attacks on our views. Simply provide us the basic facts. Now, let's address this article. This article is, like I said, it was crap. And why is it crap? It's crap for a couple of reasons. One, it's crap because of the way it starts. The right from the bat, the title of the article is awful. Okay, the title of the article says it immediately, right off the bat, and the title indicts the Proud Boys, it indicts the GOP, and it associates both of them together and with fascism. Right in the title, it tells you that it's the only truthful part of this whole thing is that the author tells you right off the bat what he's going to try to tell you to think. That's the only thing. I mean, it's twisted. The author doesn't have any ability to, let you draw your own conclusion. But at least right off the bat, you know exactly what that author is trying to tell you and exactly what he wants you to think. It's horrible. It's something along the lines of the Proud Boys, the GOP, and the fascist creep. And that's what it boils. That's their whole basis of the article. I think that's how it starts out or something like that. I might be paraphrasing just a bit. So the title opens up with this crap, and then the opening line is just oozing with liberal bias and hatred for Republicans, GOP, Proud Boys, and basically any event or discourse that has a conservative bent to it. So, and I'm gonna read this quote. The author says, and I'm quoting here: Gavin McInnes, the founder of the violent, notice he said violent, neo-fascist, new fascist group, or gang, it says, neo-fascist gang, the Proud Boys, had a perplexing message for the Republican Party last Friday. Quoting McInnes, at the very least, people of the right, McInnes told the crowd inside the Metropolitan Republican Club ballroom, let us scum it up. All right, now I don't know if McGinnis actually said scum, used that term, or if that was like this particular author's interpretation of what he said instead of let us come in, or he says let us scum in. Is that what that's what he quotes here? Let us scum in, and I don't know if that's the author's interpretation of what he heard or wanted to hear, or if it was let us come in. In other words, let us come into the party. Let us be part of the party. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just know that there's a clear liberal bias bent on this particular one. And in taking this quote, he starts off by tying the Proud Boys, basically labeling them a neo-fascist gang. They call them neo-fascist gang. And then they're tying them directly thereafter to the Republican Party by putting them in this same little box. And then they're talking about it, and they end with the word scum. So there's this sort of concept that, yeah, these neo-fascists these Proud Boys are neo-fascists. They are supported by Republicans, and they're all scum. That's in the first line. That's the opening line to this article. It doesn't open with facts. It doesn't open with any kind of like background to it. It just opens with that exact same line. So right off the bat, you know that this article is going to be deep-seated, deeply ingrained liberal rhetoric. So it goes through some more stuff, and then it goes on to say, quoting, in 2018, under President Donald Trump, a person like McGinnis is invited to speak at a popular Republican institution, not despite his extremism, but because of it. His invitation to the Metropolitan Republican Club, and this is the fun part, right? This is where it gets interesting. It says, scholars of fascism said, I want to know who these scholars are. If this is reporting, who are these scholars that you're quoting? It is a quote from multiple scholars of fascism. Quoting multiple scholars of fascism. You can't quote multiples. A quote is what one person said or what a representative of a group said. This is a quote of scholars of fascism. Who are the scholars? How are they labeled as scholars? Are they scholars because they got their degree somewhere? Are they scholars because they're educated in fascism and government and politics? Are they scholars because they have a PhD or a doctorate of political science? Is that what makes them scholars? Or are these scholars like they're armchair basement freaking warriors? That's what I want to know. Who are the scholars? See, we need to think critically about this article, and that's one of those things that we're looking at critically and saying, it's a quote of scholars. It's like saying, well, the mystery man said that McGinnis is a terrorist, right? Whatever. I mean, it's so far left. It's so amazingly bad journalism. I could go on forever. But it says here, scholars of fascism said that it shows Republicans increasing ease with what is essentially the militant fascist wing of their party, an especially unnerving development given Proud Boys' penchant for violence. The funny thing is here that this article is writing about this like Proud Boys have a penchant for violence, and they might. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know enough about Proud Boys. They seem to be kind of the antithesis to Antifa, and if that's the case, it seems like maybe they're a group that is willing to fight violence with violence. And I'll say I don't know that I agree with that. I don't promote that, and I would not certainly would not encourage that. However, in today's day and age, with the divisions we've got, you have Antifa, which is clearly a direct and explicit proponent of violence as a means to an end. And then on the other side, if you have these Proud Boys as the antithesis to that, they might be functioning as a violent or a group that's willing to engage in violence in order to prevent it. Every civil war in the country has basically begun that way. You go back to Africa and look at the civil wars there, they've started that way. You have people who have a penchant for violence bring on violence. Let's make this clear. If you have a penchant for violence, if you encourage violence, if you're willing to engage in violence regularly, you will bring on violence into your life. So if you promote violence, you're going to receive violence. If you promote love, you're going to receive love. If you promote unity, you're going to receive unity. If you promote wealth and whatever other advancement in your personal life, then you are going to receive wealth and advancement in your personal life. It's just a fact of the way things go. It's what you get is what you give. What you give is what you get back. But I think it's interesting here in this particular quote is that they say that Proud Boys have a penchant for violence, and yet here we have this particular engagement that this person is referencing in general was an engagement with Antifa, who has explicitly promoted violence in the past. So I think it's interesting that we got a Proud Boys penchant for violence is very parallel to Antifa's. Like I said, I've seen videos and reports from Antifa who have specifically said that violence is a means to an end for them. And then on top of that, they're tying this to the Republican Party. But let's remember here, folks, let's remember that recently we've had Hillary Clinton herself say that, and I'm paraphrasing here, that her party could not return to civility until they regain power. Do you get that? We can't be civil with you because you're different from us. You're different from us. You think differently than us, even though your policies have proven themselves very successful in the past 2 years. But you're different than us, and so we cannot be civil with you until we return to power and we can direct what you're doing. We have control of you. That's the message they're sending. Explain to me how the message of non-civility, in other words, violence, anger, whatever tactics are necessary, whether that's violence or lying or cheating or being basically uncivil, if that is okay until they get power, then what makes you think that they're going to change that once they've got power? That's Hillary Clinton. That was the other party's presidential candidate. And then we see this, right? If that's not a call for violent overthrow, then I don't know what it is. But then we go on to see, in recent times, Eric Holder. Now, this is the former Attorney General of the United States, right? Former Attorney General, an incompetent dipstick that was under Obama. He was recorded saying that, and again, paraphrasing here, it may not be an exact quote, but he said something along the lines of, when they go low, we kick them. And it's a play on Michelle Obama's famous quip from the 2016 election. So when they go low, we go high. Whatever. Okay, so there's a great line. Yeah, everybody cheers. A great line, right, from Michelle Obama. She had a good one-liner. But this Eric Holder guy has taken this one step further, and instead of saying, when they go low, we go high, he's saying when they go low, we kick them. Again, this was the Attorney General of the United States of America. And he's calling for both socio-political and physical violence against an oppositional group. If that's not the definition of fascism, I don't know what is. Okay? I've got a degree in political science. I've studied fascism. I've studied communism. I've studied socialism. I've studied all these different forms of political philosophies. And I can tell you that defines fascism. Okay? All right, so this article goes on in an attempt to tie the GOP, tie the Republicans, tie the conservatives to fascism and violence. This thing, it's crazy. And it ties them even so far as to tie them to the neo-Nazi, KKK, white supremacist hate groups. Folks, this is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous to think that the Republicans and conservatives are a neo-Nazi, KKK fascist group. Ridiculous. Are there some things going on right now which are divisive? Yes. Are we trying to return America to constitutional values? Absolutely. We've gotten so far off the Constitution that now it's blurry. But there's really, look, the bottom line is I could go on and on about this article. I could spend a whole hour discussing the intricacies of this article, its bias, its ridiculous claims, and absolutely oozing, gooey crap of filth that it is. But here's the bottom line. The problem with this article and with this situation is that Antifa got their butt whooped, right? This is the problem with this article. Whoever wrote it, clearly has a bias toward or has a liberal bias, clearly supports Antifa, clearly feels that maybe they were wrong. Here's the bottom line, folks. Antifa got their butts whooped. This article's trying to make it seem like the Proud Boys, who are backed by supposedly a bunch of crazy fascist, neo-Nazi, KKK, white supremacist, racist pukes, who are conservative and Republican, they're trying to make it seem like these poor little Antifa got their butt whooped by these people. And they did. They got their butt whooped. But we didn't start the melee. Conservatives didn't start the melee. Proud Boys didn't even start the melee. Let's look at this. Look at it this way. Antifa tried to stir the pot at a conservative event, and they got outgunned. They got outflanked. This shouldn't surprise you, ladies and gents. A bunch of 20 and 30-something Antifa twerps living in mom's basement playing strategic anime card games couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag. Now, I'm not a proponent of violence, but that's freaking stupid. It's stupid. If you're going to take your butt to a freaking conservative event and stand up and try to incite violence, you're going to probably get whooped. Just own up to it. You lost the fight, Antifa. You lost this time. What they did in this situation is akin to punching a nest of Africanized killer bees while wearing a Speedo. It's how stupid are these people? Listen, I don't call for violence. I don't agree with that. I think someday this may get to that point, and when that time comes, everybody has a decision to make. They need to decide that they're going to pick. I think we can work across aisles. I think we can work through this stuff. I think the freedom of speech and the freedom of press is fine. I think we need to support the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, all the amendments in the Constitution. I think we need to stand behind that. But this article is not that. This article is ridiculous. And hey, you know what? They have a right. They have a right to write a piece of crap. But I would expect somebody like the HuffPost. I'd expect somebody like the New York Times. I'd expect somebody, big corporations like Yahoo and Google and all these others. I would expect them to support good journalism. I would expect them to put their name on unbiased stuff. Because at the end of the day, there's consumers from both sides purchasing and using your product. We don't need to be told how to think. We don't need to be told what to think. We don't need to be told how we should behave in society. They have laws for that. They have laws that tell us how to behave in case we don't know. And acting civil doesn't take much more than knowing one rule. And it's a golden rule. My mom taught me this from early on, right? Treat others as you'd have them treat you. That's what it boils down to. Treat others as you'd have them treat you. And if you want people to call you out on your crap, then try to call other people out. If you want people to buck up against you, buck up against them. If you want people to treat you right, treat them right. At the end of the day, this is the media call out. That's what this was intended for. It's a call out against the bias. It's a call out against fake news. And this is fake news. I'm sorry, HuffPost. You got fake news. And you posted it. And you promoted it. And you published it. So we're going to call you out on it. It's a fake news call out. Ladies and gents, check out the link below. You will see this article if you want to read it, pick it apart, call them out on it as well on your own. Just once again, thank you for joining me at the Just Saying show. And once again, God bless, take care, and until next time, I'm just saying.